Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Monday the 7th of November. So just really looking at today, well, just a reminder actually before we run into this week, if you're trading from elsewhere, the US, North American time zones, time savings shifted. So we're all back to our usual 5 hours differences there. So we have today, we've got a couple of speakers there. Lagarde speaking at 8:40. Let's just check and see if we can see. Due to speak, pre-recorded video. There we go. Okay, it might not be doing too much. We'll see. It's saying it's pre-recorded. It depends on the security around it. In that case, European Commission and the ECB in Belgium. And then we've got Mr. FOMC Mr. speaking, woman in economics. Okay, can't see that creating too much movement there, but anyway, so a couple of speakers that I can see there. Aside of that is nothing, and it really runs in. The big day this week is Thursday. We've got US inflation coming out, and it's sort of I'm saying the big dollar because the effect it may have on the dollar. Big effect. It's the effect on the dollar basically is why it's a big day. Goodness. Aside of that, there are a number of other factors, but today is the big day. Let's just check and see. We've got Lagarde, Breeden. Okay, there's a Bank of England speaker at 9:30. We've got some other speakers there on this listing. It's just a better listing. It's just not so clear. So it's a better listing which isn't so clear. Already had a bit of data out there, year on year, industrial production, month on month production, industrial production, coming out slightly better for Germany. We'll see if that's had any knock-on effects. Doesn't look like it. It looks like this is stagnated. I looked at it in the early hours. I was up a bit late, and I looked at it, and it was doing exactly the same thing. There we go. It's moved up a little. Okay, so what have we got? It's just come back out on this euro dollar, and it hasn't broken the prior low there. It moved back quite a long way. It got an amazing drive on Friday, but a bit more dovishness maybe coming out US wise, but it's very mixed. But anyway, regardless, the euro benefited significantly from that. It becomes more bullish if it breaks these highs up here later in the week. We might see that. Who knows, might see it before then, but that's when it starts becoming even more bullish and confirming the sort of bigger movement up. It's still erring, dare I say it, as ugly as it looks, fractionally on the bullish side on this time frame. Of course, when you come out to the weekly, and it's a good thing to do is just to come out to the weekly, and from there it still looks pretty bearish. But it's the beginning. What we're looking for here is it changing up? Are we going to be seeing more upside on this euro in the longer term? And the cracks are certainly there. Of course, it put a higher low in. But it's what it does now following that. It did literally an ABC that was spot on to a one-to-one move, so that could be all over. And where it's sitting at the moment isn't really helping me. Doesn't matter what time frame I look at here. It's really moved very little. It has got its pivots below. Yes, it's daily and weekly pivots sitting there below, which could be a bit of a draw if we start seeing it sell post 8 o'clock. Right, that's the euro. The pound, well, be good if I can get it on the dailies. That's better. So again, Friday saw the gains. We have got these sort of higher lows looking slightly better, but it had actually done a bit of a butterfly, a bit of pattern sitting here. Whether or not it will, what it would do from there is another matter. It's obviously reacted to that, but it's whether it continues on the downside. Again, just really consolidating at the moment. It's got its weekly pivot morning. Its weekly pivot is above. Sorry, morning Michael and Camel. it's okay. It's daily. Really post 8 o'clock I'm looking at. So there is a bit of gap, and that could be a draw along with the weekly pivot above. So if we see the market start pushing up, this is the long side. If we see them start pushing up, it's the euro, it's the downside in terms of the price action. Yeah, looking quite soft. High in. That's the pound yen. Well, yen continues to chop in here. It's pretty much non-tradable for me the way it's shaping up. There are some quite big moves, and don't be just because it looks all sort of small and choppy and whatever else. But when you look at the size of some of these moves, there's sort of 65 pip bars on the 4 hourlies here. They're quite sizable. Would have been lucky to see a sort of a third of that when it's in its more normal state. But even like a 33 pip move in the last hour. Okay, still got 6 minutes to go, but it's a biggish bar. You're seeing some of these, they're quite big. Anyway, so it's got movement. It's just difficult movement to work out where it's going. I think some days it's easier than others for sure. And it's almost like a scalping pair at the moment. So probably best avoided in real terms. Aussie dollar. Well, is this going to be? Are we going to see a continuation of the move here? It pushed up on Friday again there. I mean, but it was really looking quite bearish until that, as was the euro and a number of other currencies. They were looking bearish. I always sort of, you come back to the bigger time frames and you realise, you can look at the weeklies here, and it is pretty bearish looking. It's still sort of sitting there dancing around with the weekly 8. Weekly 10 would be around the same area, looking soft. It's off a bit this morning through the Asian session. Again, it's got a bit of a gap. Most of them gapped a little bit on open. It's sitting there on its weekly pivot at the moment. Daily pivot's also there, same place. You see the gap above. If they, as I say, with these, if they start turning, well, there's gaps. There are targets up there, but at the moment it looks pretty soft to me. That means it will turn. Canadian dollar. Now, the Canadian dollar had been sitting there and resisting a little bit more whilst the other markets were falling away. The Canadian dollar wasn't being, well, this is US Canadian, so the US hadn't been doing quite so well. And then it got a little bit of a poke, but that move on Friday has given us a lower high. It's a pivot swing on the dailies, so a break of the lows would suggest further downside, but it's not broken there yet, and it might not do it straight away. It's got again weekly pivot above there, target wise week, and the daily not far as well, so it's all sort of looking like the upside could continue now with the more consistent movement that it's been through. Maybe we sort of, I mean, it's a bearish flag in the whole picture of things here. Maybe it could still hit those and roll over at some stage. I'll keep an eye on that. It looks a possibility anyway. So looking at other markets, we'll nip across the commodities and look at gold briefly. Come out to the dailies, and of course, well, gold benefited on Friday. It's probably because I said you don't want to be buying bottoms. And then it benefited, but I mean, for the long term, it's just I'd wait for something more. But had that huge gain in the afternoon there when the data came out, non-farms came out. Aside of that, though, I think it's a sell most of the time, but not necessarily from where it's sitting at the moment because of what it has done. If it starts getting back below the daily and weekly pivots, which are both below here, then if it starts selling off, then it's back into sell territory. We could just see a bit of follow through, but yeah, it's not what most people want to hear. Okay, switching across to oil. So again, benefited on Friday, weaker dollar. Oil prices tend to shift. It's doing what I expect in the overall bigger picture. The short term is really quite ugly. A lot of the time, we saw it last week. It's sort of selling off, eventually picking up towards the end of the week, and certainly it was helped on Friday there. Below is the weekly pivot. It has got support around that area, so 90.24 on my chart. Now, depending on what charts you look in, different brokers will list this differently. This is actually the contract side of things itself, so this is the price, but as I say, brokers have different prices. But anyway, looking back towards those prior highs on your chart, there's the weekly pivot sitting there, and that might just give us some support. Big gap above as well, just looking at this time frame on the hourlies here, big gap, and well, could be a draw there. Okay, that's pretty much it across there. Let's change markets now, just look at what's going on the Bitcoin side, because I said on Friday, well, they're starting to look a bit more positive. Well, Saturday did go positive on some, and then we saw Sunday sell off, and it sell off this morning. So however, they still have on the Bitcoin here, it still has higher lows, still is a little bit more on that bullish side. Ethereum, now it's, well, similar pace. It's a little bit weaker over the weekend, full stop. Maybe that was, I'll just come back to that double tops just stalled it a little bit. Ripple's just continued to be not the one to be trading with so much. Yes, it had a great day on Friday, but is now rolled back all the way, just about. Cardano the same. They're all pretty soft. It's actually Litecoin is the one that's doing the best of the best here, best of the rest, or all of them. It's taken out its prior highs there. It had already taken those out. It's hanging around there. It's positive at the moment. Of course, it could come into being a shooting star later, and be quite bearish looking, but it is holding up about the best. Anyway, moving on very quickly to the indices. And we have CSI 300 that's continued its little shove up there, and the Nikkei's been positive, closing its gap through the. In fact, it gapped in the early stage and just continued pushing up there. Bear in mind, it closed the last session all the way down here, so big gap up. So in the lower time frames, there's gaps below now, but for now, it's pushed up there. Nifty 50, it popped and it's dropped again. It's pushed up again through the prior highs. General trend, of course, it stays there on the upside for now. Bit of consolidation on Friday for the stocks, US stocks, and probably not a surprise with the dollar sort of falling back. We generally see stocks going the opposite way. They had inverted correlation, and well, we saw that on Friday. Up a little bit. I say up a bit. It's not. It's down because it's gapped down. Just notice the gaps in these. They all gap down a little bit here. So it's a question with the Dow Jones. If you're looking for the bullish side, well, that's probably, if it's not the best. I'm sort of ignoring the spike action and sort of just drawing across there. It is, to be fair, looks like a bull flag, may have some more upside potential there. Looking at the Nasdaq remains the weakest of the markets here, and potential still, it looks like to me, to roll back, but if the others are all picking up, maybe it'll come with it. But the opportunities to sell with that one are probably better, using it as a selling tool and buying the others when it's going upwards. Right, the CAC, great day Friday, selling off a bit today, and it's the same here on the DAX really. Probably a bit of divergence over these highs on both markets, but there is there's a pivot swing there, quite bullish sort of candlestick set up there, may have further upside. The FTSE, very similar here. FTSE really climbing quite strongly again, upwards in comparison to some of the markets. They're really pushing up quite strong, looking a little bit better. I'm still not that trusting of it overall. Right, that's pretty much it for me this morning. There's not a great deal else to cover, so I wish you a great day's trading. We'll see what as 8 o'clock pushes out there this morning, or see what's in store. I will be going carefully and start off gradually on a Monday morning. So looking back at the currencies steady, let them show their hand, give them some time, and see where we're going. Have a great one. Bye for now.